Today, we're jumping into a story about a future where the most precious thing in the world isn't gold or data, but something we're all losing, little by little, every single day.
So just think about this question for a minute as we go. In a world that is just completely drowning in noise, what would you pay for true, absolute silence?
To really get our heads around that question, we need to step into the world of this story. And look, it's not some far-flung dystopia. It's just a decade from now, the year 2032. So in this near future, there's this official medical condition that everyone knows about called the Great Hum. It's basically the unavoidable static of progress. You've got 6G satellites blanketing the globe, drone corridors buzzing right over your head, and even this haptic smart dust in the air. It all adds up to a background noise you can never, ever escape. But here's the thing about the hum. It's not just annoying. It's a psychological weight. It creates this constant gnawing anxiety, a really unnerving feeling that the very air around you is watching you. Just imagine that, never ever feeling truly alone or at peace. So in a world that's saturated with noise, what's the new status symbol? Well, this sums it up perfectly. Right now, a billionaire might buy a private island, but in 2032, the ultimate flex is buying signal latency. They pay an absolute fortune, not for a place, but for a split second of being totally unreachable.
And you know, whenever there's a market for something, a new profession pops up. And that brings us to this really unique and totally illegal job, that of a poacher.
Now, these poachers aren't hunting animals. They're hunting silence. Our main character, Cassian, he uses all this crazy military-grade tech to find what they call null points. They're these super rare geographic shadows where the global network just can't penetrate. And when he finds one, he sells the coordinates to the one-percenters for a fortune.
And this is where the story really takes a turn. On one of these hunts, Cassian finds something that's going to change everything. He finds a place he later calls the Valley of Whispers.
So picture this. He's deep in the Andes, and suddenly, all his equipment just flatlines. No signal, no drone whine, nothing. It's what they call a dead cell. For a poacher, this is the jackpot, a perfect, sellable piece of total, absolute quiet.
But as he's standing there, in this sterile, empty silence that he's ready to sell, he hears this. Something that shouldn't be there. A real, acoustic laugh. Not filtered through a speaker, not compressed. A sound that just shouldn't exist in a place like this. He follows the sound, and what he finds? It's like stepping back in time. It's a tiny village, completely off the grid. There are no wires, no glowing screens, nothing. Just about 30 people, living a kind of life the rest of the world completely forgot about. He ends up meeting a woman there named Alara, and she explains the real reason they live here. Their kids were born with this condition called digital seizures. They're biologically incapable of handling the hum. It literally poisons them. And then Alara says this to him, and it just hits so hard. For them, this silence isn't some commodity you buy. It's not a weekend getaway. It's the only place their families can actually survive. It's a sanctuary. So this discovery, it puts Cassian at a crossroads. He's now facing this monumental choice, with a life-changing amount of money on one side and the survival of this entire community on the other. And just as he's trying to process all this, his terminal, which had been dead, suddenly pings. It picks up a stray signal. And it's an offer. A megacorp called OmniSync is offering 50 million focus units for the exact coordinates of this valley. They want to turn it into an exclusive resort. You know, this whole idea of putting a price tag on peace, it isn't really science fiction, is it? We see it happen all the time. Some quiet, beautiful beach gets discovered, and bam, it's a tourist trap. A peaceful neighborhood gets taken over by short-term rentals. The second we find something pure and quiet, our first instinct is to package it and sell it. And in the process, we usually end up destroying the very thing that made it special. So this is Cassian's choice, laid out plain and simple. On one hand, he can take the 50 million, buy himself a permanent quiet vault, and live in silence forever. But the villagers, they get evicted into a world that will kill them. Or he can use his very specific set of skills to do the opposite. He can create a phantom signal, make this perfect, pristine valley look like a digital garbage dump to any satellite, and hide it forever. So what does he do? This last part of the story reveals his choice and what he learns about the real, true value of, well, nothing. He doesn't even hesitate. He gets to work.
He reconfigures his gear, starting this recursive signal loop, and sets his data dampeners to, and I love this term, scream with garbage data. He's basically turning the entire valley into a digital black hole.
So from that moment on, any corporate satellite scanning this spot would just see a chaotic storm of digital noise. The valley was finally safe, precisely because it now looked completely, totally broken.
He then smashes his terminal, cutting himself off from the world, from his payday, from everything, and he turns to Alara and says this. He's made their sanctuary worthless to the outside world, which is the only way to make it priceless to them.
And then, something really profound happens inside Cassian. You know that phantom vibration we all get? The ghost of a phone in your pocket? That little twitch that's an echo of constant connection? For the first time in his adult life, it's just gone. He is truly, completely disconnected.
And he finally gets it. The silence he found isn't the sterile, curated zen that corporations sell. It's a heavy, real, powerful silence. It's the silence of a world that just exists for itself, whether you're there to see it or not. And by giving away $50 million, he's just gotten his hands on the most expensive thing he has ever owned.
And that's really the question this story leaves us with, isn't it? In our own lives, with our own constant hum of notifications and emails and everything else, what's the quiet, maybe unproductive or worthless sanctuary that is, to you, absolutely priceless and worth protecting?